Mm-hmm.
No matter how hard I do that,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Minute. Yeah, a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the clock up on the wall says 6 p.m. So I'll call this meeting of the Richwood Planning and Zoning Commission to order. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's Valentine's Day, but we appreciate everybody's time to come out here and take care of the business of the city. Okay, let's have our invocation. Please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight to ask that you bless all present, all of our citizens, and the proceedings we are about to conduct. On a day when love is celebrated, we remember the greatest love ever given, the love you show to us each and every day, and never more than through the gift and sacrifice of your Son, Jesus Christ, through whom we pray. Amen.
May you pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Let the record reflect that all council members are present tonight, and which will take us to item 5 on the agenda, public comments. And don't believe we have any. Fake person's already checked. Please excuse my voice. It's kind of trying to get over some kind of respiratory thing, non-COVID. All right, with no public comments, let's go to the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from call meeting of June 14th, 2021.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from June 14th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that Councilmember Matt Yarborough made the motion. Councilmember Mark Brown seconded. Councilmember Mike Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Elizabeth Strawn, how do you vote, ma'am?
Aye.
Councilmember Matt Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Roy Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Mark Brown, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
We'll let the record reflect that all council members did vote in the affirmative. Motion carries. Okay, item 7, discussion and action items. Preliminary review and action on replat of lots 156 and 157, Block 1, Oakwood Shores Subdivision, Section 1, also known as 33-527 and 33603 Blue Marlin.
So the Rickettsons, they couldn't make it tonight, but I told them I would present it on their behalf. Just 2 lots in Oakwood needing to be combined so they can build. We have approval from HOA, the bank, and plan review.
Any discussions, questions, or?
I make a motion to approve the replat of lots 156 and 157, block 1 of Oakwood Shores subdivision, section 1, also known as 33527 to 33603.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that Councilmember Mark Brown made the motion. Councilmember Matt Yarborough seconded. Councilmember Mike Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Melissa Strong, how do you vote, ma'am?
Aye.
Councilmember Matt Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Roy Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
And Councilmember Mark Brown, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Okay, let the record reflect that all council members did vote in the affirmative, and the motion carries. So, it appears that we have completed the business for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So at this time, at 6:05 p.m., I will adjourn this meeting, and then we will, I think about 6:15 is when we roll into the other meeting. So we've got about 10 minutes before we start the regular city council meeting. Appreciate y'all understanding that since we've got it listed that way, we're giving time for everybody to get here, just in case. I like reading.
This is where you go.
So, I have a direct charge.
Early morning.
Do you want me to just email it to you to review?
Yeah,
I
please.
created, well, I took one and then put our stuff in.
That works.
No, they can finish.
TNCC, they have, people share them and stuff, so I found one, so that's it, I just have it.
Always did that. They're gonna get Janet, she's supposed to send their particulars on all the cases this week. So I can sit down and do my judge worksheet that I have for each case, and that's the laws, the outs and all kinds of good things, and then I just write all my stuff down while I'm making my decision. That way they can't just say I'm making arbitrary decisions. Thank Laura talked to me about that one time, and I said, well, let me try that. It worked out.
Start making your Christmas
I
list.
took everything off.
Yeah, that one without so right now. Yeah.
I was fortunate.
Yeah.
They'll watch it back later. I get like more videos after that. I just do it before.
How many do you, how many do you do most of them?
Josh is one of them. He's here. He's one of my sessions. Yeah, so sometimes somebody will like start it after the fact, but like somebody's watching with us. I don't see it with Josh. Yeah, it's college is one of them. Yeah. There's a time I go.
Whitney lived in Florida. How many people watch that?
I know sometimes my mom will come in and sometimes just because she wants to know what else is going on or
Yeah, if you're able to pay the house, if you're able to send it, pay the house. You do. You know.
Yeah, you're right.
The clinic over on Jackson doesn't even have a doctor there.
maybe it was something like that.
Should I maybe call again and
There you go. Maybe if I make a meme out of it.
If you go viral,
Right?
you should TikTok.
There you go. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
believe me?
I'd rather not have any views than you.
Yeah.
The place is not about.
Yeah, it is an ugly thing
We're
there.
not gonna take one for the team. Wow.
Not worth it. We'll find another way.
My daughter is in Richwood now.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people like to see me breaking arm, another arm.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Got my phone turned on.
Thursday's her last day.
Kurt's charging for that, just come on barrel.
Little diamond in there. We call it a rhinestone.
Just easy, cubic zirconia.
I used to get them things every year for every 5 years. I'd always make a new tie. Tie tack. Okay, it is 6:15 by the clock on the wall. We are going to convene in regular session, City of Richwood's council meeting. Let the record reflect that all council members are still with us this time, still present. Are there any public comments at this time for this particular meeting? Okay. All right. Item 4. This is another one of the good things that we get to see here. And this is Employee Service Awards. We have a service award for Linda Pace, who's an administrative assistant, and for 20 years of service, someone that I've known since high school, and someone that I've been very proud to know has been up here and working with us for the last 20 years. She's done an excellent job and hung right in there with us in her good times and her bad times, and always been ever faithful. So Linda, could you please stand up?
So Mayor and Council, I just wanted to say a few words about Linda. I've been her supervisor for the last year and a half, and she has made coming to the City of Richwood and filling my role as finance director so much easier, because she is just an amazing employee and she's got a wealth of knowledge. So we are definitely going to miss her. She will be retiring at the end of this week. And so we want to present to her this, what do you call this? Service award. Oh, that's
Distinguished Service Award.
And your certificate.
Okay.
And your jewelry.
Oh. Didn't know.
We are definitely going to miss you.
Y'all look over here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I was born and raised in Richwood. I love this city. I'm gonna miss it. But I'll still be around some, maybe. But next chapter in my life's gonna take me a little further away. We're gonna move to the hill country.
Oh,
So, but be around for a little while longer, and I've really enjoyed working here. Great people.
so I was going to suggest you could run for mayor if you wanted to stay in
But I
the
had to
city.
move here.
She lives in Lake Jackson.
I know,
Well, I
but
do
you
have
can still
property
live
here,
there.
but I don't think that qualifies. We've been down that road before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Linda.
Congratulations.
Okay. Next on the next on the Employee Service Award, we have a 10-year award for service for Mr. Clifton Custer, Director of Public Works. A gentleman that came in and dove in with both feet and found out how deep it was. About 3 foot above his head, but he's done an excellent job from day one.
Thanks, sir. Jewelry. Thanks, sir.
And, by the way, Cliff, you owe Kirsten $5 for the paper that was printed on.
She's
I
already
got
talking.
you. We've already talked about it.
You'll just ask for 6 back.
That's, yeah. Thank y'all both. Again, it's really great from a citizen standpoint to see us having long-term employees like that. And it's sad losing them too. Linda served under, when my wife was on council, when she was on mayor, or when she was mayor, and she's always done an excellent job. Cliff's been, like I said, he came in here at full speed and has done nothing but try his best to make the things work and make things better. So appreciate all y'all's efforts.
I would like to add, Linda's done a terrific job of training her replacement, who is familiar, Laura Tyner.
Mm-hmm.
And Laura has done a fantastic job thus far, training a new customer service relation person, whatever her name was, Paula.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we'll miss a beat, but we certainly will miss Linda.
All right, moving on. Let's go to the consent agenda. We will have approval of minutes from the regular meeting held January 10, 2022. Approval of December 2021 budget report. Approval of Q1 investment report, fiscal year 2022. Approval of submittal of annual Richwood Police Department racial profiling report. So, any discussion from the council?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion made to approve, made by Councilmember Mark Brown. Do I have a second? Have a second made by Councilmember Melissa Strawn. Councilmember Mike Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Strawn, how do you vote, ma'am?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
And Councilmember Brown, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Let the record reflect that all members voted in the affirmative. The motion carries. All right, item 6, presentation. Presentation of fiscal year 21 financial audit report by auditors Patillo, Brown, Hill LLP.
I'd like to introduce Clayton Rogers, our auditor who's driven down from Waco to present to you.
Thank you, Tricia. At the risk of killing all the suspense, I'll just go ahead and get it out of the way. Everything was fine.
Thank you.
So, as Tricia said, my name is Clayton Rogers. I'm a CPA with Patillo, Brown and Hill out of Waco. Seeing a few familiar faces. This is our second year working with the city on their audit. And so what you have in front of you are the annual financial report, the financial statements for the city for fiscal year 2021. And I'm here to talk about the results of the audit and then go over the financial statements and any questions you might have. So what I always like to do is start in the most natural place to start, which is page 1. So if you flip with me to page 1 in the annual financial report. Just as a refresher, what we're here to do, what we were engaged to do as auditors, is to plan and perform an audit of the city's books and records and the financial statements that it produces, and ultimately render an opinion over whether or not those financial statements are materially right. It's required by state statute, and this letter that you have in front of you, the independent auditor's report, reiterates what our role was as the auditor and then what management's role was. The management of the city is responsible for the financial statements and everything that is in them. We did help prepare this report, which is a very common practice, but ultimately management accepted that it is their numbers and their financial statements. Our job then is to audit those financial statements and perform various procedures, everything from interviewing key personnel to make sure that control processes are in place over city funds, confirming external bank balances with the depository. We are able to run payment ledgers from the Texas Comptroller's office to make sure that we're squaring the books up with everything that the comptroller says that they got, and based on when it was timed. Just a few examples. And at the end of that audit, after we perform all those procedures, we render the opinion on the financial statements. And if you'll flip to page 2, at the very top of the page, you'll see that we were able to render what's known as an unmodified opinion, or you would note it as a clean opinion. So of the 4 types of conclusions we can reach for our audit here, that's the best one. And what that means is that everything in these financial statements, in our opinion, based on our audit, is materially right. Nothing is misstated or omitted that would affect a financial statement user's opinion on them. So as part of our audit, we performed our audit in accordance with government auditing standards, which is an additional set of requirement in addition to all of the other audit standards that all audit firms have to comply with. And one of those things, the extra things that we have to do since we're auditing public funds in a governmental entity, is we have to do certain procedures to test significant laws, regulations, contractual compliance, anything really big or significant that would affect the financial statements. And at the end of that, we would be required under professional standards to report to you if we found one of any number of a litany of things, such as fraud, waste, abuse, significant non-compliance with one of those types of laws or regulations. We'd also be required to report to you if we found certain large deficiencies in internal control. All of those things would have been included in our letter in the back of the report or in this letter of things that we're communicating to you guys. But fortunately, throughout the course of our audit, none of those items were reportedly found. If you compared that governance letter to the one that we sent you last year, the only thing really that's different is the dates. And so what that means is that it's not just that the numbers were right, but that there were the underpinnings of it, the control processes, the systems that the city has in place are generally operating as designed. So clean opinion, as good as it gets, no findings of fraud, abuse, non-compliance, any of those types of things. So overall, as far as the audit goes, it was, from our perspective, it was extremely smooth. Last year, first year audits are always challenging, especially so in the middle of a pandemic and when some key personnel turnover and someone new is in there. But I really wanted to thank Tricia and her staff and Mr. Forrester. This year was even better than it was last year. Everyone was extremely helpful, forthcoming, was very quick and eager to provide us all the information that we needed to make sure that we were able to finish this audit quickly and easily and get it presented to you in a timely fashion. So thanks very much to them. I'd like to go over a few highlights on the financial statements. I don't want to go over them in any great detail because I don't want to put you all to sleep. But if you'll flip with me to page 8. Again, without going into great detail, if there's one thing you remember from this presentation, it's that if you were to go through these financial statements and compare them with a fine-tooth comb to the types of things that the information that you've been presented with throughout the year, they're not super different. It's not anything like a situation where, oh, we thought we were doing good and it turns out we're actually doing really not good when the auditors show up. None of that was the case. Generally, the adjustments that we came across either were things that were extremely small or were things that only get adjusted once per year. For example, throughout the year, the capital project expenditures that you guys are having in the water and sewer fund, those get expensed. We call that an expense for budgetary control purposes. But then at the end of the year, when we're producing GAAP basis financial statements, we're not going to call it an expense, we call it an asset. And so it's just typical year-end types of once-a-year adjustments like that. And in particular, here on page 8, this is where you can see a lot of those types of once-a-year things. This is what we call the statement of net position. This statement and the statement right behind it, the statement of activities, this is what shows essentially all of the city's funds as a whole presented together. And whereas, say your general fund omits certain things like capital expenditures, the pension liability, in this set of financial statements, all of that stuff is included. So for example, at the bottom of page 8, you can see the amounts related to the city's pension and OPEB liabilities. For both business type activities, that's just the water and sewer fund, and then governmental activities is essentially all of the other funds of the city, except for the CCPD, which you can see is off to the right as its own column. Again, going through this, it was again very much a case where there would not be any surprises if you were to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. General fund balance is still very healthy, almost a year's worth of expenses in fund balance. And all of the types of things that Trish has been telling you about through the year, those are holding true here. I wanted to point out one other highlight here. If you'll go to page 45 with me. On page 45, we have for the general fund a budget to actual schedule. And this is kind of handy because this particular statement shows how the budget numbers that you guys have been looking at throughout the year stacked up with the final audited numbers. And you can see that the slight overage with expenditures was more than covered by excess revenues. Tricia, I think, prepared a detailed schedule if there were any questions about that. Generally speaking, that overage was a couple of funds included in the general fund for this report that are not being budgeted for, and then just a couple of small accounting changes that really were just calling something a slightly different name, but again was very much covered up by excess revenues as well. One last thing I'd like to point out. If the next page down, page 46. I wanted to point this out. These next several sets of schedules after the general fund's budget schedule are some year-over-year comparative data for the city's pension liabilities and its OPEB liability, other post-employment benefits. That's the supplemental death benefit. That are you guys the TMRS benefit, or do you have your own? It's TMRS. So again, like we talked about House, one of the only new things in this report, if you were to go through it, was some of the things that get adjusted once a year. Well, here you can see all of the bits and pieces that make up that pension liability that TMRS's actuaries determine. And you can see that it actually did, at the bottom of page 46, it did decrease by about $70,000. With changes in the stock market and changes in future projections, those liabilities are going to gyrate up and down. They'll probably generally decrease over time. But I wanted to point those out because this is the one place in the financial statements that you can see how it's been changing over time. So again, financial position, general fund balance, really all of the city's fund balances are continuing to increase. Everything is looking healthy, and we're not seeing anything that would be considered a sign of distress. My opinion on the financial statements is as good as it gets, and it was a very smooth audit. So I'd be happy to go into any more detail if there's anyone has questions on the financial statements or about our audit.
Any questions, council members?
I had a quick question on the totals on page 5. And just for my knowledge, on the investment income varying from 2020 to 2021 as a revenue, in 2020 total was $97K, but then in 2021 it was $8K. I was just trying to understand what caused that
interest rates.
variance.
So generally, from an audit perspective, the way I think about it high level, interest rates were kind of humming along until April of 2020, which was over halfway through fiscal year 2020, when, as we all know, interest rates went through the floor and generally stayed there. So that interest revenue number is only about less than half of the year of that drop in interest rates because of COVID. Well, now in 2021, that interest rate has been low all year. I can tell you that every single one of our municipalities that we're working with, it's anywhere from 50 to 90% decrease in that investment income, just depending on what they're invested in.
We also had a drop in the amount in our investments as we've done the streets project.
That's a very good point also.
That money has come out of the investment pool.
That stuck out to me on the differences of revenue.
Sticks out to me every month when I get this.
We had that bond money sitting there for a while, so it probably.
Yeah, the days of
0% interest, or
yeah, or the days of being able to park something in a CD for 6 months and get 3% interest is long gone.
0.01 most of them.
Any other questions?
So I'll ask you, any opportunities for improvement? I mean, you said everything is the best opinion y'all can give us, clean across the board, which is great. Is there any room for improvement y'all saw at all? Any little things, tiny?
Yeah, great question. So that's something we get asked a lot is, okay, what did y'all talk about that didn't make it into the report? I'd say probably one of the general boilerplate things is COVID, with people, especially here with the Omicron variant, cases spiraled out of control really quickly. People would start working from home with almost no notice. And when you have lots of remote work, not remote work, people are being out, there's a big opportunity that those control processes that are in place can break down. And so that's one of the things we spoke with Tricia about, is something to be cognizant of. Again, not that we found any of those issues, but especially with a small city like Richwood, if you were the city of Houston, they have an accounting department of probably 80 people. You let a few of them get out with COVID, they have lots and lots of backups. But when we're trying to make sure that certain duties are segregated at a smaller entity, it's harder to do that. So that's definitely one of the things that we went over. And then also as well, I mentioned that there were some very small accounting adjustments that we made throughout the audit, and a lot of those types of things were very old issues that were not related to this fiscal year or even the last 2 or 3, that as Tricia goes through and continues to make updates and improve how everything's being tracked on the GL, some of those things will continue to filter out.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I would like to just make a comment that Clayton and his staff are excellent at, if I don't know how to handle something, I can call them and I have an answer within, hours at the most. They're very, very good. I'm still on my learning curve, really, as different things come up, because this was my first government job. They have been beyond helpful to help me and learn and walk my way. So as we go, and we will find more ways to improve.
And we knew we were cleaning up a lot from years past, so that makes sense that it would be found.
What's the timeline look like for getting those things from the past filtered off of these so that we don't have to keep revisiting it?
We're close.
Very close.
We ran into several issues this year. A bulk majority of what's left now is delineation of funds that were pooled together and then pulled apart, and tracking those hundreds of POs that were issued out, tracking them back to specific funds, but even that we're very close.
Another more specific example also, that's a great example. Almost all of the governments that I work with, one of the big key controls is the bank reconciliation process, where at any given point in time, the cash number per the general ledger is not what the bank says is the cash balance. So at least once a month, management's preparing a reconciliation so they know exactly down to the dollar what makes that up. Well, if you think about outstanding items, it would be like a check that you wrote that somebody hasn't cashed yet as of that date. Invariably, there will be some old things that never get cashed that stay on that bank rate month after month. Obviously, again, we didn't find anything large like that, but you can have, just using an example, you can have a $27 check that was written 3 years ago that when you're trying to manage a multi-million-dollar entity, some of those really types of small things will be cleaned up over time. And I'm not remembering exactly what that particular thing looked like.
Yeah,
It was just
there's small things that really don't come to my attention because I don't deal with them. But then if we're going through things, that's where they are. And when I came, the bank rec was well behind. We really didn't know how much. Now, at least once a month, I can tell you to the penny. I might be a few days behind otherwise. But no, we're definitely.
Thank you all for the hard work on this.
Thank you. We appreciate the chance to do your audit and for everyone's continued interest in making sure that the city's doing what it needs to be. Makes our lives easier. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Safe travels.
Thank you so much.
You driving back tonight?
I'm stopping off in Houston.
Okay. Yeah, I know Waco's a good ways from here. I've driven as many times to meetings.
I drove it back last year, and fortunately I was able to work this in with another client meeting. But fortunately not having to drive through.
Well, be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Discussion and action items. Final review and action on replat of lots 156, 157. Block 1, Oakwood Shores subdivision, section 1, also known as 33527 and 33603 Blue Marlin.
Make a motion to approve replat of lots 156 and 157, block 1 of Oakwood Shores subdivision, section 1, also known as 33527 and 33603 Blue Marlin. Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Councilmember Mark Brown, second by Councilmember Matt Yarborough. Councilmember Mike Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Melissa Strong, how do you vote, ma'am? Aye. Councilmember Matt Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Roy Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
And Councilmember Mark Brown, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Okay, let the record reflect that all council members did vote in the affirmative, and the motion does carry.
The plat was approved, it didn't have individual signature spots, just for the mayor and myself, so y'all don't have to worry about me catching you on this one. They'll accept it either way, just if it's there, y'all have to sign.
Can we make that common practice?
I'll sign my plat.
Well, I'm not getting up to go sign.
We'll do it at. when
Yeah,
you
we'll
leave.
do it.
No, no,
Yeah. Like I said, no more broke arms.
I'm not gonna do it.
Take the right.
Yeah. Okay, public hearing in action regarding violation of City of Richwood's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Article 7, at 1250 North Brazosport Boulevard, number 7, by Jose Mata.
Cliff, you want me to take it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Mullen, he runs does it have a name, the park?
Kindle property.
Okay, it's the Kendall Properties, it's down south, 288 Business, the mobile home park.
Right.
He has a abandoned trailer that has been left for many years, and legally for him to remove or demo it, we need to condemn it, the city, since it's not his trailer, but it's on his property. So I have attempted every manner that I can to get a hold of Mr. Mata. I got no response. So we did all required public notice for it, to get his attention that we're gonna do this. Mr. Moreland is gonna remove and demo on his expense. The city's not gonna be responsible for it. We just need council to take action.
I'm assuming it meets the definition of.
Yes.
How long has it been condemned or abandoned?
Since 2017.
We know that nobody's living in it, like. Alright.
No, you know what?
Yeah, it doesn't have any,
I go
city
through
services. There's no water account connected to it. As far as we know, it is abandoned, and I've tried to reach out to Mr. Mata based on any addresses I could find, and nothing.
Have we checked any like death certificates in the state? I mean, is this
I
jump
did not,
past
but
perhaps?
Mr. Moreland said that he states that probably could be what happened, but that last he heard from him, he was going to Mexico.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have any record here for that. But he was in bad health the last he saw him.
My opinion, he probably did. But he was diabetic then.
Yeah, do we have any issues, like if he did die, and if his estate has claim to this?
I've looked it up in Missouri County Appraisal District, because they do get taxed, and there's been no taxes paid on it. There's been no action. They haven't been able to find anybody either to establish a state for it. That's where I first started to try and find him, was based on county tax records.
Will this be considered a safety hazard?
As it is right now, no, because the doors are locked. I drive around here all the time. On the one side of the trailer, it's the wall's starting to go. It's still stable, pretty stable. I mean, I can go over and kick on it and it's gonna fall. I'm gonna put some yellow tape around it, soon as we get condemned. And so that way I can mark it off. Everybody around the visitor knows what I'm trying to do. So, there's no kids that live right there in the joint area, that play around there. Everybody in the park I talk to quite a bit. And, I get along with everybody in there, and they don't mess with it. It hadn't been, the last time the door was opened up, probably about 4 years ago, and it's locked solid. Because we had to guard it open to make sure nobody did that out. Because that's when we started having a lot of problems. And I put eviction notices on there, and I tried to get over it too, about every meeting I thought possible. And that last time he told me he was going to Mexico, he would be back. And I knew right then I was in trouble. But, no, safety hazard right now, no. It ain't gonna fall on nobody. I can't get in it either. I've tried. I've tried to get in there. It's only got one door. And as soon as we get John going where I can actually put my hands on it legally, I'm gonna go over there and make sure and I won't put a fair tape around it too. We're gonna start trying to get a box there and split it down, get it out of there. It usually don't take long to move. This ain't the first one we've done.
Yeah, we've done this in the past.
Now, those trailers are packed pretty tight in there, aren't they?
No, not really. There's probably from the edge of the trailer, the yard's probably about from me to that wall there. They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
No, the reason I was thinking that, if someone just decided to come in there and pick that trailer to
Move it?
be an arson,
Oh,
practice a little arson, being a fireman, former fireman and fought fires down there, it could create a safety problem from that situation. I know it's a what if, but
yeah.
we've had people do that before.
Luckily, that one made out of aluminum,
Mhm.
so it take a little bit for it to burn on the outside.
Okay.
The inside, I mean, it's like anything else. We'll fire up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Go home with it. Arson wise, like I said, there's nothing hooked to it, as far as I can see. And always, I mean, I don't have no trouble in that park.
Mhm.
People in there know me.
Oh, it's good. It's a good trailer park.
Huh?
It's been a very good trailer
Oh,
park
it's,
the whole
my
time I've
grandpa's
lived
had it
here.
since '72. My mama owns it now, and I live in it. I'm kind of over there.
Mhm.
I don't deal with it. I just think we'll do it. But no, I had never had one burned down there.
I just remember, I remember a couple of them that have had fires inside, but not bad.
Yeah, I never.
But
We're trying to get rid of the gas in that park anyway.
Yeah.
I don't like gas in that. But anyway, no, as soon as I can get y'all okay, I'm gonna probably start knocking it up, working on it.
The only other concern that I have is the way that it's written. It says that it'll be demolished or relocated at the city's expense. Are we gonna have something that keeps us from having to burden that?
No, on here it says that the property owner, or if they don't do it, then the city can do it and put a lien on the property.
Yeah, so under section 4.204, and at city expense, it says that Public Works Director, after determining the cost when it vacates, secure, remove, or demolish the building or relocate the occupants at the city's expense. And so I just wanna make sure that we're not gonna be burdened with that.
Oh, no, ordinance.
No, that's in-
Ordinance in that.
It says in May, not that
But-
they're required to.
But, yeah, the report said he was,
Yes,
I know.
I mean, that can definitely be in your motion to approve, like, motion to condemn this property at the property owner's expense. That's the action the council can take.
Well, I mean, we can't reach the property owner.
He's the property
Or
owner,
the
yeah,
asset owner.
well, the landowner, yeah, so it'd be the landowner's expense,
Trailer over.
We can't reach
not the
that.
trailer owner.
okay, any further questions?
And is it empty, or is it, I mean, personal possessions still in there?
When I went in there ain't nothing. It's empty. There might be a table in there. That's about it. Rest of it,
Yeah, no personal effects.
Okay, I'm reading what you're reading, Mark. It says, so the property owner shall, in respects to this, comply with the order of the city council, which is y'all ordering to condemn it. It says, if it's not vacated, secure, repaired, then we may do it on our behalf, and then in the next station, or the next step is to impose a lien. So no, we may do it if they don't, after our order, which then we would put a lien on it.
Yeah, but it'll be a lien on the property, right? Not on against Jose.
No, it wouldn't be on the trailer, it'd be on the property.
He doesn't.
Do what now?
Right, no, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be on the property owner.
That's more for when the city is attempting to condemn it. I mean, this is a landowner
Like
just trying to
unwilling,
get,
like
yeah.
if it's unwilling, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In the past, legal has assisted us with this, so should we decide to go ahead and go through with this, we can see if Philip can get a formal letter drafted to the property owner. This is what council decided, and you have in the past, they would give them so many days to get it done, but I think since Mr. Moreland is wanting this and, trying to get this done, then maybe not put a time limit on it to get it done, but, Philip could probably draft a letter, same as we have in the past.
Well, I'm kinda confused by that step. I mean, if we give permission to condemn it now, I mean, he can start tomorrow, and
We could,
I don't see what the purpose of the letter to the.
we just have in the past, but that's because it was more contested, I guess,
Okay.
than this, not being able to find this man.
The ordinance states that we have to go that route, right? We have to.
Not with legal sending a letter, I had to send a letter, which I did.
Okay, any other questions, or do we have a motion?
How does this need to read?
You can, motion to approve, motion to condemn.
So I have a question before you do that, is just under the section 4201, section B, the order to vacate repair, right? So that's the one that we would be operating under, right? Because we can't reach them, so we're gonna do a public hearing, give them notice,
What we're doing now.
right?
Mhm.
And then it says that we have to specify a reasonable time for the building to be vacated, secure, repaired, or demolished by the owner.
No, I mean, realistically, just ask Mr. Marlin how long it's gonna take him, and then
Still sit there?
if he says 6 months or 90 days, or, then you can put that in your motion.
When do you wanna start doing the work?
Well, I mean, last time we done this right here, we had to wait 30 days after y'all done it for anybody to test it on us.
And this is
I think
not
30
required.
days is reasonable.
Before I can start doing anything. Right now, I mean, I ain't gonna start producing month anyway, cause I got more stuff to do.
So a month isn't gonna hinder you?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's been sitting there for 4.5 years.
Okay.
I
I mean-
think another month, they gonna kill it. All they don't do it when it's hot.
Alright, I'll go ahead and make a motion to condemn property at 1250 North Brazosport Boulevard, number 7, owned by Mr. Jose Mata for violation of City of Richwood's Code of Ordinance after 30 days.
Posted notice.
Posted notice.
Okay. Have a
Second.
motion, got a second from Mike, a motion by Matt Yarborough, second by Mike Johnson. Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong, how do you vote, ma'am?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Okay, let the record reflect that motion, that all council members voted in the affirmative, and motion carries.
There you go, now that's fine.
Okay. Discuss and consider adopting ordinance number 22-486, amending chapter 3, animals, article 1, section 3-9 and 3-36 of Richwood's Code of Ordinance.
All right,
Chief.
as y'all are aware, we recently had an animal control issue, with a bunch of feral cats running around Jasmine, so we thought it was a good time to take a look at our animal ordinance and see if we needed any revisions, and we did. You look at section 1D, it used to read a nuisance animal is one which, so forth, but it excluded felines, so we've added felines into the definition of a nuisance animal. And then in section 2, we've added in the definition of what a nuisance cat looks like. Basically, they can't run at large, but if they start causing problems, odors, or they congregate and start damaging property or what have you, then they are considered a nuisance and we can pick them up. So, obviously, staff's recommending approval, and I'll answer any questions you have.
So when we run into this, if we run into this in the future, Chief, are your officers the determination on the nuisance by those definitions, the odors, the?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So a complaint and calls, your officers are gonna determine,
Right.
yes, I smell the odors, yes, it's, you don't have cats, you don't have, and they can start the trapping process.
Yep.
again.
Absolutely.
Do they take them to Angleton?
Yes, sir. So far we have taken 13 cats to Angleton, and they've done a phenomenal job on rehoming those cats. So hats off to them.
Do you know how many we've trapped that had tags and were proper, just roaming?
I do. No.
Okay.
We had one that was contested, but it was found to be the wrong one.
We've had 3 registered since then.
It wasn't socks
And the good thing about our recent efforts is folks coming in to register their animals
They are
have
doing
increased. So, which is a wonderful thing, because if I do find, or we find a cat that has its ears split or has a tag on or what have you, it'll help us get it back to the owner.
Appreciate y'all taking the time to get this, in a place that's a little bit more, I guess,
Everybody can do that.
enforceable, I guess you could say.
Okay, any questions, or do you have a Motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 22486, amending chapter 3 animals, article 1, section 339 and 336 of the Richwood Code of Ordinances as presented.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have motion made by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Yarborough. Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Strawn, how do you vote, ma'am? Councilmember Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Okay, let the record reflect that all council members voted in the affirmative and the motion carries. Item D, discuss and select a date for a planning and work session concerning future capital improvement projects.
Mayor and council, just like, we touched base on this last time, I would like to set a date where we can sit down together, talk about a few, capital improvement items, kind of a look ahead, and what this will do is this will help us, kind of guiding into the budget season, and now that we have some projects wrapping up, kind of a wrap-up view of those, kind of an overview, if you will, of a roadmap where we're going. We can do this either before a council meeting, after a council meeting. We can do it on its own day. Off the top of my head, I'm going to think probably an hour to maybe an hour and a half. We'll have a presentation, kind of explain what we're looking at from a 5 to 10 year window, where we are financially. But again, I'd like to do this prior to the budget cycle, so we're kind of all on the same page. So really, it's up to you. If you would like to do it on its own day, we can do that, or we can do it before or after a council meeting coming up. It's strictly up to y'all.
And in this workshop, will be limited to this scope, correct? I know we've discussed having, refreshers on rules of order.
Yeah, this will just be a kind of a look ahead at our capital projects.
If we do like something like that, I'd prefer to do it after.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just wanted to
Which
make.
we can, we definitely can do it in a meeting, take 30 minutes to do it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure
For
this
sure.
would be limited to this, which does have a timeline before budget, so.
I'm good.
If y'all would like to do it before the next council meeting, we could do that, or we could do it on an own day. It doesn't matter to me.
What do we have coming up on next? I know it's a month out, but do we have a lot on the next?
We don't have a lot yet. It's pretty short.
Because if we were gonna get done like tonight at 7:30, it'd be easy just to stay an extra hour. But I don't know how getting here earlier, I don't know if anybody else would have trouble. I might have trouble getting here before, like an hour and a half before. That would be hard for me.
That is spring break week, just so everybody's aware.
Oh, is it?
The 14th of next month.
It is, BISD spring
Yeah.
break.
Yeah, I will not be here.
Would you like to do it on another evening, if it's easy for y'all to get here?
I'm okay with a special meeting on a Monday, or I'd actually prefer Tuesday now, but.
What about Tuesday the 8th? No?
No to the first, that's Caribbean. I've already double
No.
booked them once.
Oh.
Oh.
How-
The 8th
How
or
about the 8th, Tuesday the 8th?
works for me.
Works for me.
Mike, that good for you?
Sure.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm
Six.
open right now.
What date did you say?
March 8th.
March 8th at 6 p.m. And again, I don't foresee a super long meeting, but, we've all had kind of questions over the past year, and I didn't feel comfortable answering some of those because we didn't have a timeline in place. We've got that timeline wrapping up now, and we also have a lot of these expenditures being paid off now or being paid. So we're in a good spot where I kind of want to push forward now and get you that information, which will help us for the budget cycle. So I appreciate that. So Kirsten, if we would, March the 8th.
I just sent you all an invite.
Perfect. That's it. That's all I've got.
Okay. All right. let's see, capital improvement projects update.
So, I guess, begin with just CDBG, our water line replacement project for Walnut and Cedar. Should be starting here, pretty quick. I think we're gonna begin in March, and we have a deadline of December 2022, so we're way ahead of that. Well within budget, and no issues, just waiting to get started. The CDBG disaster recovery, most of that's a sewer line replacement for Briar Creek, Club Run to Cypress Court. Most of that is complete. All the main sewer line replacement services, everything has been completed. We did run into a few issues with manhole replacement. Many of the manholes on the Briar Creek and Club Run section of the project had other conflicts with, or had conflicts with other utilities such as gas, telephone. The manholes, after meet a certain size criteria now, they're quite a bit bigger than the ones in the ground. These utilities, not knowing that they were existing up against the manholes, are not easily moved, being 2-inch gas mains or several hundred pair of fiber optic or something like that. So they're gonna do a manhole rehabilitation on these manholes. They're brick and mortar. It's not ideal, but it's the best we can do. And based on the process they're suggesting, we figure we're going to sustain them for several more years, hopefully another decade or so, until we can figure out what to do. Could be longer than a decade. But that's all we can do with that. We did come in under budget. Of course, this is the CDBG project. We did not exceed the 25% under the project cost. So we don't penalties, no red tape, nothing like that. Just, that's all we like is just finishing up. They'll be doing that this week, and we'll be closing that out. On streets, the last remaining streets are being reconstructed, Oyster Creek Drive and Cypress Court. After all that is complete, the asphalt contractor will come back in, do the overlay. They will do the ends of San Saba, Oyster Creek Court radiuses on those streets as well, and they have to redo radiuses on Success, I believe. When they set that drainage culvert, it was shifted too far to the east by a couple of feet. So it made the head walls, the way it designed, made the radiuses too sharp. They had to go back in, bust out some concrete, re-pour the head walls. Now they have the room to do proper radiuses on the street. They'll get those redone as well. We got into a lot of water service lines, unfortunately. On Cypress Court, we weren't aware that the water main was only about 3 feet deep, and it runs right down the center of the street. So they're grinding them up on both sides. There's no way they could get around it. Based on what they have to do to reconstruct the street to make sure it maintains integrity for 20 plus years, they have to get down into the subgrade, and that's where the services are. So we're just repairing them as fast as we can. I'll hold the job up. Let's see, North Water Plant. Support ring for the water tank has been poured. They're going to be doing the remaining foundation this week. For a couple weeks, there's going to be no activity out there while the foundation cures. I thought they originally said 21 days curing time, but they're telling, the way I explained, they're going to start at the beginning of March with assembly of the tank. So I'll get with Strand and see if Terracon found out something different. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer than what it is before they start assembling, but the quicker the better, really. So contracts for the booster station, Mayor signed on tonight. We'll be sending them back. There's a little bit of a lull just because we were working through those numbers, trying to get the cost of the project down to align a little bit more with our budget, and we did. I think we saved in excess of $60,000 overall, making the changes we did. So we'll be starting on that pretty quick. Hopefully TxDOT gets on the ball and gets us our permit so we can do our drive. Let's see. sure they all got this week.
It's gonna be boring when this wraps up, isn't it?
No.
Well, I can tell you this, it's nice to see a lot of checks at the complete or almost complete boxes.
We'll find something for you.
It's a good
Okay, you
feeling.
can help me with
Yeah, we still are on, Eric had asked me the other day, we still are on schedule, to have the plant online by this summer. We originally thought spring, and just due to some weather and stuff like that, it's probably gonna be July, August.
Well, redrilling set us back. Come on.
Redrilling set us back a month, we had some weather that set us back, yeah, we had a few things. But it's starting to come together. I know we're gonna start doing the construction progress meetings as, all the contractors, city and engineers as one group. Ryan Tinsley did mention, you know, the thought for the 4 separate contracts was to try to get competition there and save the city some money, and everybody thinks they accomplished that. But it has been a pretty big challenge with all the ants now moving around the same, so it's pretty tough. So we're all gonna try to get on the same page and do construction progress meetings together, so everybody knows what's going on from day to day. Keep from stepping on each other's toes.
Well, you do have something to look forward to, water tower, drainage, flood plan.
Yeah. There's plenty, I'm sure.
On the drainage,
Yes.
when do you think we'll start, the citizens start seeing like shovels in the ground and
We're
these
thinking,
ditches and retentions? We're about a 9% spend so far on drainage, maybe 1.5 million.
yeah, we're starting, it's gonna be probably the middle of that part of March, is what we're anticipating. It all depends on the street project. Or when they can get that finished, they need a small break to go complete a quick job, complete, then they're gonna come right back and get started. So we anticipate latter part of March. The drainage, I'm glad you brought that up. We are gonna be, even though we've tried to cut the costs as of right now due to the change orders in the streets project, we are anticipating being a bit over budget. We think we have a solution to that problem, which is gonna be a budget amendment, utilizing funds from the transportation.
So what kind of heavy machinery, you know, they're gonna be using for drainage?
For drainage, it's gonna be a track hoe. I know they're gonna be using that. I'm sure there's gonna be skid steers.
I'm just concerned, like, doing all this $3 million worth of streets, and then we're doing drainage and then dropping heavy equipment on the new streets,
Absolutely.
damaging it. We have that problem in the neighborhood, one neighborhood already. Just, I would hate to see the new shiny blacktops get all tore up by.
No, I can appreciate that. But most of what we're doing is gonna be on the large outfall ditches where we have substantial easement on both sides. I don't think it's gonna be an issue. I don't see any reason why they couldn't drop equipment onto grass or not the cedar.
Well, even if they've gotta move on the road, maybe we can get them to drop a couple pads or something to go from one side to the other.
Yeah, it is material. So far, they've been very considerate about all those type things, but yeah, I think we'll be okay. I think most of it's gonna keep this city. Any questions?
Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Cliff. Okay. Next up to bat, Eric Forrester with his city manager's report.
Mayor, Council, if you would, attach to your city manager's report on the back side is the tentative fiscal 23 budget, tax rate adoptions, budget schedule. If you'll take a look at that and see if those, you don't have to answer us tonight, this is way early. I got threatening emails over the weekend for sending this out so soon. I'm just trying to,
That's what she was mad at in that
oh,
picture.
I'm sorry, Friday evening. Just make sure those dates look okay to you guys, and if we need to change any of those, we can. I don't wanna interrupt anybody, so I wanted to get this out early. So I appreciate that. If you have any questions about that, let me know. We did not have any candidate packets until tonight. We've got one. We still have 2 positions with no packets. Cliff, Tricia, and I attended a project kickoff meeting for the water utilities software census. And it looks like a possible June rollout for the new system. So we're super excited about that. We can't wait to get that up and running. I met with Grant Works this weekend about last week. CDBG, MIT, the COG mod grant. It's a mouthful, I know. There's a substantial portion of money out there for Richwood. It depends on what worksheet you see has been floated, but anywhere from 1.4 to $2.8 million for mitigation, flood mitigation. Unfortunately, there are still LMI qualifiers that haven't been voted on yet or haven't been worked out yet, but we're keeping track of that. I have already done the budget, the agenda item for next week or next meeting. We're going to go ahead and ask now for a grant manager and project engineer on this so we can get ahead of the curve. If the LMI qualifier is in place, I would suggest we go ahead and work with whatever grant manager we can on this and check our qualifications, but we hope they're going to relax that a little bit. So we're up and running on that. Linda's retirement, as Kirsten said, this Thursday, if you can make it from 11 to 1, we encourage everybody to do that. I know some of you can't because of your schedule. We have still have 1 officer out on COVID leave, and as of today, we're showing 49 cases for the city. And that's all I've got.
Any questions? All right. And council member comments and reports. Mike?
Yeah, I did attend the Crime Control and Prevention District Board meeting on Thursday, January 27th. I don't see any minutes posted yet, though. It was a good meeting, good discussion.
Okay. How about you, Melissa? Matt?
I'd like to thank Trish and everyone in the staff involved with the audit. I appreciate that.
Very good.
Yes. Roy?
No, sir, not at this time.
Mark?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. This Saturday, it's pretty busy. KRB is having phase 3 of their landscaping. I think they're starting at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. It also conflicts with Val 22. They have their suicide awareness walk-off on Saturday, starting at 8 in the morning, and I think step-off is at 10. Go out and support our veterans. Let's make sure that we're doing our part for our community as well. And just want to say thanks to staff for doing a great job on the audit, man. This is what it should be, right? Is our city should be transparent. We should be doing a good job with our money. So thank you all very much for what you're doing. Especially recognize Eric. You know, you came in and you're running tight ship. So thank you for your diligence and making sure that we're doing a good job here. And Cliff, congratulations on 10 years. And great job on getting these projects going, man. This is great progress. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Coming to the mayor's report. Well, even though I've been sick, I was busy during the weather calls, both county or both regional and the state calls. We've got some more weather coming this way. Probably not going to be as bad as the last, but there is potential some rain, some wind, maybe some major storm. also have the emergency management meeting tomorrow is a virtual meeting, so I'm gonna probably be on that as well. But at 10 o'clock, I have also a state call to get on for fire danger, which I doubt is going to be in our area, but I'm going to listen to it just to make sure that they're not looking at down here in this area, because we don't have right now we have no burn ban, and I don't believe we're that close to one, but I do want to make sure that I'm on top of it with the state on that. Most of it's probably going to be on up toward the central Texas area. There's been a couple of Bastrop had one here a while back, pretty bad fire. But that is one thing that I would like to remind everybody, the citizens as well as the folks that are here tonight, is please, if you do burn, be careful about when you burn, how you burn, and make sure it's containable. Don't do it in high winds. I know our fire department stays pretty busy these days, and it's not only they're not only going and helping other departments, they're doing it here in the city as well. So we all need to be aware of what we're doing if we're burning in the city. Of course, we're not supposed to be burning in the city, but we still have people that do, and it still gets away from them. So, other than that, again, I want to echo Mark on the Val 22 is coming up this weekend. It starts out, I believe, at the Lake Jackson Convention Center and Civic Center, and they usually have a pretty good turnout. So if you have time, stop by there during their activity. I know it's conflicting with some of ours here too, but show our vets the respect they deserve, because give them a good pat on the back, because they're out there doing good for a lot of people that otherwise may not have a voice to help or the help to keep them from taking their own lives. Okay, so that's it for me. Future agenda items. I think we pretty much got those set.
Well, I remember last year we had a Val 22 day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's a little late now, but is there something we can do to recognize Val 22 and the work that David Benson's been doing?
Sure. Matter of fact, the last time I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned to him that if he wanted to contact Kirsten so we could set it up for this meeting, but I guess he was busy. But I would like to.
He's probably busy.
Yeah, I'd like to do a proclamation for him. I think we can do a proclamation.
We can do that.
Thank you.
So we'll get that out tomorrow.
So that proclamation that we did last year, that's not a recurring thing, we have to do that every year.
Yeah, we don't have to, but we can put it on the agenda.
I think we set it as the hike day, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just at that date time of year.
Yeah, so, but each year we should look at moving it to
Right.
the hike date.
Right. 'Cause it, like I said, it's a good project. David puts his heart and soul in it, and he and his family actually.
Yeah.
So
We can still do it and establish it for this weekend's date,
Yeah.
and then just present it in March.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be council approved or anything, so the mayor can still sign off on it, and we'll just set it for the hike
Or I
date
could
and
take
present
it.
it to him.
I
Or
could
you
take
can,
it Saturday.
however you'd like to do it.
Limp my way in.
I'd rather see it done here. We take it to them, but then
I mean,
take
you'll
it
get a
back.
copy with,
That's
we
right.
have a copy too.
Well, we can do it here at the next council
I ain't
meeting.
been here.
You can give us a recap.
We can do it at the council meeting. That's fine. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, let's put this one to bed at 7:25. We are adjourned.